Steve Dangle here, and welcome to a special edition of LFR, that's Leafs Fan Reaction. Now, as you know, NHL officials do not answer questions after the game, no matter how good or bad of a job they did. Well, tonight, they are breaking their silence. Exclusively here on this YouTube channel, we have a one-on-one interview with the officiating crew from tonight's Leafs-Coyotes game, and we'll start with this one. Thank you for joining us. How do you justify not calling that in overtime? I am being calm. You're deflecting. I am letting you speak. Go ahead. That's not that's not what I asked. What I asked is how do you justify not calling that in overtime? You won't answer that. Okay, so how do you justify not calling anything at any other point in the game? Oh, there was nothing. There was nothing? When did Michael Bunting become the new Nazem? You said, what about my mom? Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, it's a little ridiculous. Good boy. Play all the hits. Left the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let me finish. How am I supposed to go to bed after watching that? I'm quite hyped. With you wherever you are, welcome to LFR. This is what I'm talking about, dude. Leafs lose 5-4 in overtime to the Arizona Coyotes, and there are so many stories coming into the game. Half of the Coyotes roster are former Leafs. One of them just became a dad after playing one shift in the previous game to keep an Ironman streak alive. It was announced earlier in the day that the Leafs starting goaltender, who was an all-star this year, no matter how poorly he's played recently, will be out for at least 2 weeks with an injury, giving Peter Mrazek just full reign to play, and then he has his worst game of the season and gets pulled for a rookie starting goaltender. The Coyotes are up 4-1. The Leafs erase that deficit entirely to force overtime, and after the game, we're talking about the refs. Boo, you stink. This game featured one penalty. One. And if you're like, wait, there was even one penalty? Yes, the Leafs for an unsuccessful challenge. There were 61 shots on goal in this game, so it was not a low event game. There were 74 hits in this game, so it was not a gentle game. And that is the only thing that got called. Now, don't get me wrong, Arizona Coyotes fans. I am not saying that this is the only reason that the Leafs lost. I think giving up a 4-1 deficit is probably a big reason why the Leafs lost, but for goodness sake, it could have gone both ways. Let's be honest. Justin Holl hurt a guy in front of the Leafs net defending it, but Tavares getting hauled down, Engvall getting battered, Bunting more than one. It was just, it's fine now. It's fine. When refs decide they're done with you, they're done with you forever. Sorry, Bunting. It was a good run. Here, do you want to know how you know you did a bad job officiating a game? There were no calls. Are you dumb? It's the NHL. That was a 60-plus minute infraction-free affair. Are you sure? Steve, are you saying they should just arbitrarily call penalties? No, I'm saying they should call the penalties that happened. You're telling me there were none? And it was a rather salty night in the NHL. Jack Eichel's comments on the Sabres aside, Gabriel Landeskog is definitely gonna get fined at least $25,000 for what he said about the officiating in his game. And that game featured Wes McCauley, who's the most tenured ref there is. And then there's this game. Nothing. We don't get to ask anybody any questions. That's a shame, and it's pathetic. Act like you're running a league. You're getting $500 million a team in terms of expansion fees. It's a multi-billion-dollar league with 32 teams. Thousands of people go to every game, even the Coyotes ones next year. It's still technically thousands. And nothing? Okay, well, as long as you're content with being an inferior league. By the way, this is just a disclaimer for science. Every time you leave the comment "cope," you lose a brain cell. So before you hit send, ask yourself, can you really afford to lose half your brain cells? We might as well start the game from the back. Matthews has his arm and stick held by Jakob Chychrun. It doesn't get called. You could see why, though. The official was so far away from the play. It's a 2-on-1, and then Chychrun himself scores the overtime winner on Erik Källgren, the first goal he allows in his NHL career. Hope you're all real proud of yourselves. There were some comments about Auston Matthews. Oh, well, he stopped skating. First of all, does not matter. The infraction still happened. And second of all, part of the reason it looked like he stopped skating is he was slowed down by the very guy who didn't call anything. Try! I'm begging anyone to try. Oh my God! Boo! To the end of the earth, boo! Feel bad. You stink. Now that I've had that little moan, let's talk about the big issue that the Leafs have, goaltending. So now that I've had that little moan, let's talk about the big issue here. Jack Campbell going to be out for at least 2 weeks with a rib injury, and it sounds like he's had the rib injury for at least a week. And I think a lot of Leaf fans who heard that were like, yeah. It's not even the numbers with Jack. He hasn't been playing right. There was a goal he allowed the other night where he didn't look comfortable at all. And anyone who's ever had a rib injury of any kind knows it's agony. I don't know how he played. So, Peter Mrazek is going to be the Leaf starter for the next 2 weeks, we all said earlier today. And Erik Källgren, I'm learning today it's pronounced Källgren. I've been calling him Källgren, so I've been calling him the wrong name this entire time. He is called up. And kind of interesting because he is a European free agent the Leafs signed this past summer, but he is originally an Arizona Coyotes draft pick from 2015. I did not know that. But that's just a fun fact. Who cares? We're not even going to get to that. Källgren's not playing. It's Mrazek's net. The Leafs signed him exactly for these sort of scenarios. Let's go! A little over 2 minutes in. Get a map! Peter Mrazek knocks the puck down to Alex Galchenyuk, and he doesn't know where the posts are! He does not know where his net is! I'm not even being mean. Like, no goalie coach teaches this. No! And now the Leafs are down 1-0. Couple minutes later, the Coyotes get an odd man rush. No! The worst part about this, the worst part of how bad this is, how automatic of a goal this is, he fans on it. So it trickles down like a wet fart, and he's still not able to get back in time. 2 goals against in under 5 minutes, and neither foot is in the crease for either shot when it leaves the player's stick. Doesn't matter what happened the rest of the first period because of that. So we go to the second, early in the second. Yes, it's chaos in front. Yes, the Leafs didn't have the best defensive night either. And yes, Travis Boyd knocks this puck out of mid-air. But that does not change the fact. Peter Mrazek is literally the 4th closest Leaf to the puck on this. Come on! 4th closest. And he said it was a high stick. And you watch the replay, and it's not close to a high stick. Bless him, he's probably just trying, and I can't even blame him. At least that's what I hope happened, because the other option is he did not see it! Now, in the second period, the Leafs are able to get one back. They're going to the net and crashing, and Engvall whacks one in for his 10th of the season. Low-key good season for Engvall. And there you go, the Leafs doing good things, working with their strengths. All right. And then the fourth one, yes, it's a misplay from the team in front of Mrazek, but he's square to the shot, he gets a piece of it, goes off the bar and in. That's the starting goalie for the next half month. It's terrible. It's not good enough. Now, obviously, he looked nervous, and it was discussed on the broadcast, and he had other plays that didn't end up in the back of his net where he didn't look good. I can sympathize with him being nervous. He has been in the league for a long time, and he's played a lot of games. It doesn't make him exempt from getting nervous. It is a big role for him with Jack Campbell being out. But the deadline is 11 days away? 10 now. By the time you see this, 10 days away. They need a guy. They need an answer. It's okay if you're not it. They need an answer. What do you even do? They barely have the cap space or assets to go out and get a right-shooting defenseman, which they sorely need. They're going to go out and get another Dave Riddick, because that worked out so great last year. And this is now the thing. Sheldon Keefe has an impossible decision to make for Sunday. Sheldon Keefe now has an unbelievably difficult choice to make. Do you start Peter Mrazek in the outdoor game on Sunday in a football stadium, right? Where the Leafs, by the way, are at a disadvantage because they're the road team in a hockey game in Hamilton. Go look it up on the Leafs website. They're the road team. I know. Do you start Peter Mrazek, who is obviously fragile right now, in that outdoor game where everyone's going to be looking at every little mistake? Or do you start Erik Källgren in his first career NHL start? What do you do? What do you do? Listen, you put Mrazek in that game and he has a magical game. it could turn his entire season around and build momentum and make the Leafs an unbeatable juggernaut. Or he gets shelled again, completely buckles, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say it could be one of his last games as a Leaf. Except for that little pickle about him being 2.5 years away from free agency. That's, Dubas having an unbelievable offseason in terms of value deals and then whiffing on the two that he spent money on are just chef's kiss. What do you do? What do you do? What does Keefe do on Sunday? What does Dubas do in general? I don't know. But then the Leafs remembered that they were involved in a Leaf game, which means anything is possible. Kerfoot rips it, his 10th, 4-2. Okay, nice and early. Less than 5 minutes later, Matthews dangles, play continues, but that one went in. They review it and that one went in. Forget penalties. The refs weren't even calling goals in this one. And then 10 seconds later, the puck lands right on William Nylander's stick, splits Wedgwood's 5-hole, scores. It's a tie game. The building loses it. So now Erik Källgren is the goalie of record, no pressure kid. And you know, I'll be darned, he didn't have to make many saves, but the ones he made were good. He was flashing the leather a little bit. The game goes to overtime, and he robs them with the pad. Oh, what I tell you, I got out of my seat and screamed at the TV when that save immediately ended up in Matthews passing it to Nylander for a breakaway. From a story perspective, from a feel-good perspective, from a this goal would have just absolutely scratched the itch in my brain. It would have been too perfect. And that's why it didn't happen. Wedgwood makes the save, the game continues, and you know what happens from there. You're just allowed to do whatever you want to Auston Matthews. Coyotes get a 2-on-1, and they score. The first goal Källgren allows of the game, of his career, is an OT winner. Again, I hope everyone involved is super proud of themselves. This isn't a question, but it's from Kyle Cushman, elaborating on something I said earlier. Erik Källgren was drafted by Arizona in 2015. His entry-level contract was mutually terminated in 2019, just a couple of months into the contract. Cool to see him get his first NHL game as a backup against the team that drafted him. That tweet, of course, going out before the game. We didn't know he'd be playing, and we certainly didn't know he'd be the goalie of record. How are we so bad, then so good, then absolutely robbed, all in a night? First time? I have a question for the refs. How does it feel to do nothing and be paid to watch games? Sorry, not bitter at all. Well, the NHL refs actually had to leave after the interview at the beginning of the video, but I'll step in as the resident expert in watching games and getting paid for it. It feels pretty good. But like, I have to talk to you, you know? So I feel like I do more than nothing. And it's actually officials who do nothing. Like, listen, I'm not even asking for NHL officials to answer questions on camera. You should be able to submit questions and have them answer it in a written statement, if they do so please. There should be some sort of report like the NBA has on the final 2 minutes. And, like, I have been to NBA games, and between quarters, the score changed. As a hockey fan, do you know how much that melted my mind? You know why the score changed? They made a mistake. That's a sport. In hockey, they just go, it's not a sport. And my adult learned to play hockey stuff, we don't keep score. But that's because we suck. These guys are pretty good. You know, just, I don't know, try. That's all. Just try. I want the NHL to act like a league. I just want them to do that. I understand. Refs have a hard job. And people are ridiculous to refs. And, you know, putting their face out there and name, like, people are out of it. I totally get it. What's wrong with saying you're wrong? I think people would appreciate it, honestly. Or just do better. Do better. Were there any calls in your game? No. You did bad. I just turned 29 today. When am I allowed to start counting backwards? Also, good to see the refs in playoff mode already. Don't you do that. Don't you do that. You are a fresh 29. That means you got a year left of 20s left. Do not be one of those people who spends their entire 29th year talking about how they're going to turn 30. You knock that off. You know what I would give to get 29 back? Felix Potvin. It's a good year. You know what I would give? You cherish. You cherish it. And if you complain for 1 second, we can trade. I turned 34 on Saturday. You want to trade? Give me a half decade back, young man. What was the question? Yeah, the ref should answer questions after the game. Was that it? I'll end with this. If the NHL had an honor slider like in Red Dead Redemption 2, where is it currently located? Okay, let's put it this way. Let's say the NHL had only one story mission left, but they left all the side quests, all the optional ones. And before they completed the final one, they completed all the side quests. At the end, they would still get the wolf. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like to tell all your friends. I'm going to be at the game on Sunday, so I'll hopefully see you there. And a little bit of life advice. Reach for the stars, because you'll get away with it and end up winning the game in overtime.